gonna start recording my audio so we can have this for, the FBI transcript.
Sure.
Where am I?
Oh no, now is your camera broken?
Nah, son.
There you are. So, as a part of our, of course, Patreon exclusive podcast, my camera's working. I don't know why. Also, when I opened Skype, it made that noise that was freaking me out earlier. You remember, of course, last episode where you got to listen to a grown man have a panic attack on a podcast.
Yeah.
Very cool listen.
Yeah, that was a really cool listen. Yeah, honestly, there's a lot of new fans. So welcome all the new fans who tuned in for Get Better, but was pleasantly surprised by Grown Man Freaks Out.
Yep.
By things that he cannot control while is not unbothered by things that he also cannot control.
Sure. Like and subscribe, hit that bell. I'm going to turn the camera off because this is a podcast, of course, so that needs to go away. Boop. Also, we've jumped right into it, so I guess we're going to just start the show. Usually we have like 30 seconds of prep.
This is just getting into us being great at podcasts now.
We got better.
It only thanks everyone for showing up. This is actually the last episode.
We got better. Thanks, guys.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing. Before I started this episode, I was listening to an old episode that is going to go up on the web through that good series of tubes that we call the internet. Mm-hmm. And boy, the show's gotten better. So that's good.
That's good news.
In episode 2, which is actually the 10th one re-recorded because a lot went into the fire. Boy, a lot of them really did just go away.
A lot of real bad soldiers really bit the dust.
I think I might do a super cut of like the parts that aren't bad from.
Ooh, that sounds like a lot of fun.
Because it'll be like good. It'll be like yeah, funny, ha ha ha. We're talking about whatever, and then I'm like, sometimes I get sad. And like, nobody wants to hear that. Like, they already listened to an episode of me having a panic attack. Like, nobody wants to hear that.
Yeah.
So I might do a super cut where there's not the part of me like staring into the abyss. There are literal episodes where I say, "Oh, now I'm in a bad place," and I'm out for the rest of the episode. I'm like, God, I stared into the abyss and I'm out.
That's some good stuff.
Some good podcasting, watching a grown man or listening to a grown man.
One important question for the podcast going forward is how much did you cut out of my personal favorite segment in the podcast, which is Zach updates everyone on his water situation?
Ooh, that is in episode 1 and is fully intact. Speaking of which, before the show, I saw on the internet that you do have an update to your water situation. I do have an update on the
water situation, as is tradition.
Now, I will point out, last time the problem was not enough water.
Yes. And this was a while ago. This was...
years at this point.
Yeah, for real. So far long ago that I just genuinely do not remember like it being that big of an issue. But it was a whole weekend and into Columbus Day where I did not have water because me, forgot to pay the water bills. And so because of that, we were without water. They shut it off on Friday afternoon. And then on Saturday and Sunday, it was off. And on Monday, I went to the water facility. And it was like, hey, just flip that water back on, guys. No problem. Just from here, just like hit the remote. And they were closed because it's Columbus Day. And then on Tuesday, I went out. And all that happened was... this guy came up, he removed the cover from a manhole and then just like hit a button, presumably, and then just drove off and our water was back on. Simple as that.
That's wild. Although it is worth pointing out that while it has been literally 2 years for us, by the nature of the show and the giant burn pile I mentioned, this might be the 3rd episode. So honestly, they probably heard that story not that long ago.
It literally just happened for most listeners.
Yeah, if they binge it, if they binge into it, it's like, I heard that 2 hours ago. I heard this story from you. Although I never heard the part about the button. That's very nice. I knew you got your water back because you're alive. But anyway, the problem is not a lack of water now. What is your new problem, Zach?
in a delicious twist of events. So I will explain it like this. There is this thing called a sump pump, and a sump pump is this device that you just lives in the like under your house, and it just basically just like pumps up water, just making sure that water doesn't get in your house. And this has been like an ongoing theme of me living in the house that I live in now, because I live in what is a finished basement, then turned into like its own personal room. And by many accounts, it is the best room in the house because it is this nice warm little corner, and you can close the door and you can't hear a single noise in the rest of the house, which is great. But what has, everything has a side effect. So I heard this alarm, and I'm used to this by now. So when the water level gets too high, the sump pump will kind of make this really loud ringing noise across the entire house. And yeah. So at this point, it's odd to say this, but I'm kind of used to it. So it was at 6 a.m, and I was like, oh, it's raining outside. There's probably like a little too much water getting up there, but it's totally fine. The sump pump will deal with it. That's its only job. And it was like making enough noise where I was like, okay, I know that this is like totally not cool, but I'm just going to take the alarm out, because the alarm is like a little sensor that you can just like pop out. And which, as you can totally do. Sure. And so I walked in over to the pump. I opened the door, and I was greeted by I just dropped my microphone.
You did. There's suspense. What were you greeted by, Zach? Was it a Smeagol? Was there a Smeagol down there? What happened?
It was the ghost in this room.
Oh, no.
Just really nodding, wanting me to. It's like that was like the end of Blair Witch Project.
Zach, we have one rule on this podcast, and it's that we do not talk about ghosts. So I just want to.
That's right.
We have one rule in our friendship, and it's that we do not talk about ghosts.
That's true, and that's for other reasons.
Sure.
So I was greeted by this giant, like a puddle of water just like splashed onto me. And that normally does not happen. And I was like,
Sure.
this is a problem. And I was like kind of just waking up, and it was like dawning on me what was going on. And I was like, okay. Like, don't freak out. Just like move your stuff into a corner, because like there's no way it's going to get all the way in my room.
Now, wait a minute. How much water are we talking? A bucket of water? Like in buckets of water, how much is
in buckets of water? I would say like a small bucket of water just kind of like splashed onto me. Not like a full, it didn't like hit me in the knees. It just like splashed onto my feet.
Like a fourth of a bucket of water.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so it like got to the point where I was kind of like, as I was walking, it was like just probably a half inch off the ground, and it was staying there, was not going down. And I was like, oh, this is a problem. I'll just move everything into a corner, because like worst case scenario, it just gets into my room, and I'll just have to like mop it up later. Right. And so I go upstairs and use the bathroom, because I'm just like, I'm like, this situation will be fine. This is a very slow burn. Sure. And when I walked downstairs, the puddle had gotten all the way into my room to my couch, which is like a little ways into the room itself. Right. And I was like, oh man. And then I just start grabbing things, and I'm like putting everything on top of my bed, everything on top of my bookshelf, and just like setting things like very precariously, like Jenga style, on top of each other. Oh, no. And then like the water keeps like very steadily pouring into my room.
It's raining at the moment, right? Like it's currently raining.
It is like pouring down rain outside.
Got it.
And so I am like, I don't know what to do. So I live with this guy who is like a handyman, and he's getting married very soon. So this is going to be a pleasure that I will not have in the near future. So I ran upstairs, and
him living there.
Yeah. And so I ran upstairs, and I woke him up, and he immediately springs into action. He is like, okay, let's deal with this. It's going to be fine. And we run downstairs, and then he just like looks at it, and he goes, cool, the sump pump doesn't work. And I was like, what? Cool. Like, meanwhile, I'm like holding a bunch of my belongings, just like throwing them onto my bed. And I'm like, what do we do? And he just goes, we need to get a new one. And I go, how? And he goes,
do they have one at the gas station?
Yeah. And I was like, how? And he was just like, I don't know. And I was just like, and then without skipping a beat, he just like walked upstairs, took his dog outside. And then I was just like living in a world where I was like, cool, well, I need to find out everything about this thing. And I live in a house with a couple other guys, and this house used to be owned by our landlord, and is her only property. She owns 2 properties, that house as well as the house she lives in now. And so it's like 6 a.m. I texted her and I was like, hey, could you please let me know, like, or please text me back whenever you get the chance. And I send it, and I like set the phone down, and immediately thereafter she calls me back and she's like, what's up? What's the problem? Because she is the greatest landlord of all time.
Sure.
And I cannot speak more highly of this lady. And she is like, okay, cool, we'll just get a plumber out there. It's no problem. Like, whatever, like, if you need me to come over and, like, me and you can, like, just, like, move everything out of the room, like, I'll do anything. I'll be there. And I was like, no, it's totally fine. Just, like, get a person in here to fix this. And pretty soon thereafter, a person was there at, like, 10 a.m. to, like, fix it. And then he fixed it. And then there was still water all standing in my room. And I was like, what do we do now, to the plumber? And he was just like, that's not my job. And I was like, you're right. I don't even know why I asked you. And he leaves, and I talked to my landlord again. And so I had to go to work and to close the shop that I work at. And I got a call from my roommate, and he says that currently in my room, because of she hired this other person to come and check a look at it. In my room currently, I have 2 in quote industrial dehumidifiers and 2 industrial fans just like on
in
in my
loud.
room,
those boys
just
are
going. And I'm very excited to see how that pans out and what that looks like. But yeah, and then apparently there's going to be some people coming in the next few days to quote sanitize everything in my room, because they think that there's going to be, like mold and such. And I don't really want to die of that. That'd be kind of a bummer. So that is the current update on my new water situation. So the deep irony now is that I now have too much water in my room.
Too much water. Way too much water.
Way too much water. But Sam was referring to on my social.
It was 2 episodes ago. They know. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were going to explain the water story again. They just heard it.
Yeah, what you were talking about when you saw on my social media was, it was just me and like standing in a puddle of water, and I like started to kick it, just to like give like an example of like how far the ripples went, and it went across my entire room.
That's not good, boss.
I was just like, cool, well, like these are things now. And a lot of people came and they offered to help, and which is like a very nice thing to do. But one person I know just texted me and said, heard your room got flooded, and then just like sent a bunch of laughing emojis. And I was like, that is fully on brand. Because, like, how much can you really help? And I think it's very kind that people were like, I can help, it's fine. It's like, well, I guess you and me are going to have to figure out what's going on.
Yeah. Are you going to drink up the water? What are you going to do?
Yeah.
Are you like, a sponge and I didn't know about it? Like, what are you talking about?
And it's also like, and that's totally, it's like so kind, but I was just like, I cannot emphasize enough that this water is flowing into my room. It's not like I spilled a bunch of water and I was like, oh no, I spilled a bunch of water.
Yeah.
It is just like there was a continuous amount of water just like free flowing into the room. And so I'm like, yeah, I mean, just stand there and push it back into the ground. Like, what are you going to do?
You didn't have a sous vide disaster. Like you're underground. It's been raining for, I mean, my approximation, 8 months straight. Like there's water everywhere. I don't know what it's like. I don't know what it's like in Louisville. It has been raining in this town for 8 months. Like, it has been raining every day. I think I might have talked about this last episode. I don't care. Yeah. You're going to hear about it again. Guys, it's been raining nonstop for 8 months, and it's driving me insane. Like, every day I just look outside, and a little part of me dies. And I'm just like, I'm going to lose it. One day, I'm going to lose it. I'm going to absolutely lose my mind if it rains one more day. It's driving me bananas. I think I gave this exact speech last episode. Well, it's driving. Hey guys, just an update. It's still driving me bananas.
Yeah, and for the people that get this update in 2022, in early 2019, it was raining quite a lot in both the Louisville and Nashville office.
Guys, guys, it's raining every day. It's raining every day for 8 months. It's unbelievable. It is an unbelievable amount of water that is in our city, and it's driving me insane.
I've noticed that it's raining a lot as well. We're talking about the weather. That's how this is going.
It's fine. It's a crazy amount. You know how when it's so hot, all you can talk about is how it's hot? It's raining so much, all you can talk about is how it's still somehow raining.
It's like when you're talking to someone you don't really know that well. It's like, we're going to talk about the weather because we don't really know that much. But it's like, it gets to a point where it is like, it is so hot. I'm going to be talking to my actual friends about this. Like, that is the only thing I'm thinking about.
Like, you stand outside and all you can think about is how hot it is. And then you just look at the person next to you and go, it's real hot, huh? And that's all you do. And that's what you do because it's just too hot.
Your life.
That's the rain. It's just been raining. I think I word for word said this last time, but like, you know, when I was in high school, my mom would, if it was raining or snowing a lot or whatever, she'd be like, nah, you can't go out in weather like that. And I was like, all right, you shouldn't be driving in that. That's what she said. She shouldn't be driving in that.
Yeah.
And she doesn't have a country accent. My dad does. I don't know why I gave that to her too, because she's just like my parent. She's from Ohio. She doesn't have a country accent at all. But she would tell me, yeah, you shouldn't be driving in that. And it has been, you shouldn't be driving in that weather for literally I look out and it's just like pouring and I think my mom would tell me not to drive in this. And it's been doing that for 8 months and it's driving me bananas. Since it's been raining since we recorded the first episode. Basically, that's what I'm saying. It's like, since we started the show, it has been raining. I'm losing my mind.
I mean, that's the way, that's just how, and that's how it is. And right now I have been noticing it's been raining a lot because I haven't been running that much or like getting any exercise. And that just really shows how dedicated I am to like personal fitness. Like if it is like raining or has rained and like the streets are just like cruddy, I'm like, it's not worth it. It's not like, it's not today, friend. It has just been me living in that since like late November.
I wake up early I don't run. I wake up early to go to the gym, and because I'm married, I, you know, after work I like hang out with my wife. If I'm not doing the show, you know, I'm like hanging out with her, and so I don't go to the gym after work, which is what I used to do. So I wake up early, and if I get to bed 30 minutes late, I'm just like, nah, I'm not going to the gym in the morning. I gotta sleep. Like that's it. I'm just like, if I get to bed right on time, I'm like, okay, cool, yeah, let's go to bed. If it's 30 minutes late, it's just like, nah, man, I'm not gonna make it.
That gym thing's not happening tomorrow.
I need my. I drank coffee kind of late in the day, and my first thought was like, I'm gonna be up late. I'm not going to the gym tomorrow. Like that was the first thing I thought. It's like it's not gonna happen.
Just holding the coffee at like 4:27, being like, you know, this is. The gym's not for me tomorrow.
It snuck up on me. I was just at work, and then I had my coffee cup and I drank it, and I looked at my watch and I was like, it's 5 o'clock, dude. What are you doing? Like, what are you doing? Like, I just forgot I had coffee. I was like, what are you doing, man? You're not going to the gym now. Like, what? Why did you? You're just gonna wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and think about all your regrets and not be able to go to sleep for an hour. That's what you just signed up for with this coffee that you didn't need.
That's true. I have never been married, and that is like a fear that I have because I am just like not great at sleeping. When I do sleep, I'm out like a light and gone to dead to the world. But it is just like the second I am like about to go to sleep, I am just like thinking about every single possibility. Sure. Like the other day, I was in my bed, fully like blankets, everything was great. I was about to fall asleep, and I thought to myself, I was like, you know, I'm on the lowest floor of this house.
Tight.
And if a fire broke out,
yep,
that would probably happen in the kitchen, which is right next to the door that I would have to leave to go to the front door.
Okay.
All of my roommates have access to the back door. Now there is a window, but because I'm at the ground floor, I would have to army crawl out of this room. Hypothetically, could I do it? And then hypothetically, could I do it turns into me at 1:47 in the morning, opening my window and army crawling out of my own house to see if I could do it. Turns out
Very
I can.
cool.
And then
Well,
I'm like,
number
and then
one,
I'm like
good.
totally wired off that. And then I'm just like, 4 a.m. I'm just like, man, it was really good that I thought of that. That was a really good idea.
That was a good use of my time in case of that fire.
That was a good use of my time. Cause now I know. Like
Here's what I was gonna
know.
say. One, my first thought was you do have a window in your room, and I'm glad that you checked that out because that was the right move. Number two, good news, your room is full of water. Nothing's catching on fire. You never have to worry about that, man. Your room is full of water.
Dude, if a fire ever breaks out my house, I'll just run and then take the alarm out of the sump pump and then be like, come and get me, fire.
So wait a minute. Okay,
You have no power here.
Are you saying that, because on the internet, the way you put it was your sump pump broke.
Yes.
Are you saying that taking the alarm out was like integral to the structure of the sump pump?
No. See, what happened is because it has been raining for the last 8 months.
Yeah,
the
I'm
sump
aware.
pump was just like clocking out, dude. This is like I've done everything that I can. I've given you everything. And so we try to like unplug it and plug it back in, like we work in IT.
Sure.
Which is funny because when the plumber got there, he did the exact same thing.
Did you try installing Adobe Acrobat?
No, it was like it's totally frozen. The spinning wheel was there.
Poof, that's not gonna work.
Yeah, I know. We were just like force quit. But we unplugged it and then plugged it back in. And then when that happened, it would just make this like. It would make this like whining noise, like the way that like machines make whining noises when they're not working. And my roommate was talking about it. He was like, it's like, let's see. Have you ever, and like, this is actually what he said to me. He was like, it's like, have you ever turned on like a power drill? And I was like, all right, like, oh, come
Slow
on.
down.
Like, yeah. What is a drill? What is it used for? Why is it electric? And then I was like, yeah, man. And then he was like, yeah, see that, hear that whining noise? It's like, when the power drill is not working, it's like the same thing. And I was like, yeah, like when a machine doesn't work, it makes that noise. And he was like, yeah, kind of like that. And I was just like, cool, thanks, man.
Very cool, very cool. Hey,
Yeah.
Zach, you should probably learn to use a power drill, though. That is, I know.
I
I just want to put a part on that story. You should learn how to use it.
Oh my gosh, I know how to
It's
use a power
super
drill.
Important life skill.
It was the exact same amount of like sass and absolutely unnecessary scrutiny I gave to you when I told you to hold that door. Like when
That's true. You did tell me to be strong. Okay, so what was it? I don't think that. Oh, all right. What was happening? We were going to a party, and you were parked on a hill.
We were going to a party. I was parked on a hill. I used to have this car. It was a Ford Mercury 1995 Cougar.
Sure.
And this thing is the silliest car that has ever existed. And I miss it more than I miss a lot of people in my life.
Yeah, but that has nothing to do with your terrible attitude. So let's just move on.
Yeah. So I feel like, okay, so this car had, I just need to explain this car for a second. It was olive green. And it had this shape in the front that almost looked like a ramp in a Tony Hawk game. And then at the very end of it, it would go 90 degrees down and then 90 degrees out and then 90 degrees down. And then it would box into this like a ramp with a trunk at the bottom of it. And the trunk was gigantic. And it only had 2 doors. And the doors had to like be proportional to the rest of the car. So the wingspan of this car was probably 18 feet. It was this unnecessarily gigantic door, and they were heavy, and I knew
they were not that heavy. They were just doors on a car.
They're doors on a car. But I knew that when you open the door, and if you like don't have it all the way, it will swing out and it will like smash onto the curb, and it will like for the worst part, the thing that happened was like it would get into like people's yards, and I have to like dig up my own door out of the yard. And so
Sure.
we
And
were
so
at
like
the-
a totally normal person.
yeah. So we park on this hill. I recognize it is sloped down to the side that Sam is sitting on. By the way, we did not know each other well at this point.
We had been friends for maybe a week. Maybe this is before we mutually agreed we were going to be friends.
Yeah. It was touch and go there. I don't really know how I got the bid.
Keep in mind, this is a door on a car, and it's not made of dark matter. It's just a door.
Okay, the door is heavy. It's like not a car door. Like
door
when I
wasn't okay,
like
whatever.
when I
Please,
open
tell
my
your
door
story.
now, the door is like made of like it seems like it was intentionally made. Like someone in a factory was like, "Hey man, what if we have this be a door size?" Like it just feels like in the 1995 Cougar. Everyone making this car was on cocaine, and they were just like, yeah, and also make the doors like 50 pounds. And so we're parked on this slope. It's leaning towards Sam, and what I trying to communicate. I was trying to communicate, hey, if you like open the door and like hold on to it for a second, because if you let go, it's gonna like fly out.
Sure.
The wingspan is really long.
Sure. And what did you say to me instead?
What I said to him was right before you opened the door, I said, hey, can you be strong for a second and hold on to that door?
Excuse me. He said, hey, could you just be strong for a second? And I looked at you like, excuse me? And I'm holding the door open like, yeah, dog, it's a door. Like,
Yeah.
what do you mean? The door? Yeah, I can hold the door.
Yeah, guy. I think I got it. Like
I think I've opened a door before.
I think honestly, I think I can wrap my mind around this one.
Yeah, I think I'll go ahead and be strong for a second and
Yeah.
open this door.
Yeah, you were so offended by that, and it was so early in us, like actually even like knowing each other, that I was like, all right, I'm gonna chalk that one down to a loss. That one,
that was an L for the day.
I lost that dude. That one is gone.
It's fine. I got over it. I need you to please.
Yeah, but not without the ribbing me enough that this is like still a thing that is just like every once in a while you're like, hey, can you be strong for a second? I'm like, yeah, I can.
Yeah, my bad, because I forgot about doors. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my bad. So we didn't really talk about Hilda because of my insane panic attack where I heard a noise and thought I was being spied on by Russians.
As is the custom.
Like a totally normal, sane person.
Yeah, normal guy, normal.
Yep. So I also, in the meantime, read Creativity Inc. by Pixar.
Ooh.
I'm a moron.
It's getting me
by Ed Catmull. So we can talk about that, or we can maybe do a show that isn't about cartoons for a week. If you have more thoughts about Hilda, I'd love to hear them.
I don't really have any more thoughts on Hilda, and anything I would say other than just me like geeking out over it. You know, that'd be essentially it.
Okay, everyone should watch Hilda. That's what you should do.
I mean, I really, there's one thing this could go very astray.
Sure.
I was looking at this one thing. So the Oscars are this weekend, in whatever universe this is, in whatever time frame.
2022.
And 2022. And it has like it feels like the Oscars cannot undergo like any like every single like step it has taken has been a misstep. And they were doing a thing where they were going to have some awards cast during commercial breaks, and I was like, "Oh, I guess that makes sense." And then the ones they showed, like one of them was cinematography, and I was like, "Okay, like
Not
that
a good
one."
one.
Yeah, I was like that one. Like, there's a lot of awards, and like film editing, that's up there. And then I was like thinking through all of them, and I was like, none of these really could like really take the L. Like maybe makeup and hairstyles, but then again, like there is clearly a group of people that is going to be very upset by that not being there.
Well, and here's the thing: is there is a whole set of awards, the technical awards, that are like on a different night, like that are not a part of the. So they already have like the sub show.
Yeah,
on a whole different night, because it's the Academy of Science and Arts, and all the art part is the part that everyone watches, and the science part is like a different day that they don't show on TV. So like they already have a subcategory.
Yeah, and I was thinking through that because these are the ones that get like so much press because they've been on the TV circuit for so long. But I was thinking through that. Like, there was this guy I used to live with a while ago who was nominated for 2 Grammys at some juncture throughout his life. Sure. He had 2 Grammy nominations to his name. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so exciting. You're going to the Grammys. And he was like, what? No, I'm not going to the Grammys. And he was like, what? He was like, I played piano on this very specific album that is going to be like on a different night.
Right.
And I was like, what? And then like we looked into it, and there was like this whole like other world of like the Grammys, which is held in like a ballroom in like, you know, some venue. And it's just like all the awards that no one is thinking about. And it's, you know, like the day before the actual like Grammys that are held on TV. And so, yeah, I knew about that with the Oscars as well. But yeah, it just seems like, yeah, a lot of these could be like, you know, if you're going to cut them out, then like cut them out. Then like, you know, put them on that night. But anyway, I was looking through the Best Picture nominations, and I genuinely was, and this could be the thing that we just talk about in real time, but I genuinely was curious to see what your opinions of them were. Because you're like a movie person.
Oh no, you found my secret. I'm the worst film student ever.
Oh no.
So here's what
what? This is I'm actually from mass media, and I'm gonna revoke your film credentials.
Oh no. So here's how it goes. I'm a terrible film student. I like movies, but I am also an animator, and so I mostly watch cartoons. I'm not good at keeping up. And this week we go into the segment of all the ways that Sam's broken. Whenever I see a movie that people are like, this movie is good, part of me gets spooked, and I'm like, oh no, I need to watch this. Panic. I guess I'll just go watch something else. And I don't watch the good movies. So I know that there are the good movies, and I have the ability to watch them. But when I hear something is good, I panic and don't watch it. I don't know why I do this.
Casual.
Yeah, it's really bad. And in film school, I'll literally sit in conversations with people like from school. I'm not in school anymore, but classmates. And like, I remember this a lot when I was in school, where they'll go through a whole conversation talking to me about like, yeah, and then this movie, and then this movie, and this movie, and this movie had this review, and this movie played at this festival. And by the end of it, I just like check it off, and I'm like, yeah, I've never heard of a single film they're talking about. And I just kind of like polite and listening. And like, again, they're telling me because they want to talk. Like, they're not looking for my input. So it's fine. Like, I'm being polite and just like, oh, that is interesting. But like, I have literally no idea what any of these movies are, or what anyone's talking about. So I'm going to go ahead and assume that unless it is animated or a superhero movie, I'm the worst film student ever. I have probably not seen it. You can run through the list and I will tell you the movies I've seen, but...
Okay. Well, let's start with the easiest one, which is Black Panther.
Is nominated for Best Picture. I should know that, probably.
Nominated for Best Picture.
I should probably know that. Good movie.
Yeah.
Won't win, definitely, but good movie.
Oh, yeah. It was like, that feels like every once in a while, like, because it's so padded. Like, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 8 of them. And I just feel like at some point, it's like, you can take away probably 3 of these, you know? Right. And it's like when Toy Story 3 was nominated for Best Picture, everyone was like, oh, that's nice. But, you know,
well, let's be real.
Yeah, you're just trying to put it into the same category as like Raging Bull, where like it doesn't actually win, but it's like, you know, one of those like nominated movies.
Right. Year over year, it's like, let's look at, is this movie as good as The Godfather Part 2, which again is not a normal standard and not how you should look at movies, but whatever.
Yeah, you know, because
I've destroyed all my credentials as a film person, so I guess I can't talk about movies anymore. But
yeah. Well, we have following that Black Klansman. Nope. Following that, we have Bohemian Rhapsody.
Nope.
The Favorite.
Nope.
Green Book.
Never heard of it.
Oh, good. Roma.
Nope.
A Star is Born.
Nope.
And Vice.
Nope.
That really worked out.
Of the ones that I have heard of, which is all of them but Green Book and Vice, all of those movies I recognize are good. had ample opportunity to watch. I mean, there was a literal moment where I was staring at. I was either at the movies where they were playing it soon, or of course on Netflix when they were promoting Roma. Looked at the movie, said, that's probably going to be nominated for Best Picture. Because I hear these things, right? Because my friends, they talk about this. I'm going to go watch something else. I don't know what's so broken about me that this is what I do. Because I'll watch these movies. I watched Lady Bird a couple weeks ago. I mean, who knows in this timeline. But a year after it came out, I watched Lady Bird, which was nominated for Best Picture last year. Mm-hmm. Really good movie. I loved it. Yeah. It was fantastic. And I was like, oh, man, this is why I like movies. Yeah, this is a really great story. And me and my wife talked about it for 3 weeks. We just talked about Lady Bird all day because it was man, that was a really impactful, well-made story. I loved how they paced it. I loved how they told the story. I thought the characters were really interesting. There were all these little vignettes. There was, oh, man, I love movies. Mm-hmm. And then it's hey, you're in a movie theater. They're playing The Favorite. Why don't you just go watch it and do something good for your life? And I'm like, I'll go do something else. And then I walk around the mall for an hour. Oh,
yeah, cool. That's great.
That's a super healthy way to live your life and a good way to do things. So no, we can't talk about the Oscars. Black Panther is good. But that's all I got. I'm sorry. Whoa, hold on. Just real quick. How many of those have you seen?
All of them.
You are kidding.
I saw all of them because this was the year. Oh, here we go, Samuel. This was the year of MoviePass, baby. This was the year where I had all the opportunity in the world to just see these movies, and so I just somehow over the course of the year, whenever they were all nominated or they were announced, I was like, oh, cool. The only one of those I haven't seen is The Favorite. I'll see that tomorrow, and then I actually paid real money for it. But the rest of these were just totally MoviePass stuff.
Dang it.
Yeah.
And Netflix.
Because Roma. Yeah. Okay.
Also in episode 10/episode 2 that I was just listening to before we got on here, you bring up MoviePass for the first time and explain to me how it works, and we try to guess what the business model is. Spoiler.
Oh, yeah.
It didn't work out.
Boy, oh boy, did it really not work out. And it was not working out towards the end of me having it, not working out aggressively. Almost almost as if it was daring me to keep using it. It did this thing where at around 7 o'clock, it would just mysteriously say that all the theaters were closed or that none of them were showing movies anymore.
Please, God, don't go see a movie.
Yeah. So what you'd have to do is you'd have to get the ticket early on in the day and then just buy it and just have it for later, which I did once to spite the whole system. I was so angry. I was like, if you think for 1 second I'm not going to see I, Tonya, and then I just went and saw it just by myself, just frustrated.
Didn't see it. I had so many opportunities and I didn't see it.
That's fine. It's actually really good. It's on Hulu. But so yeah, and that happened for a long time, and I was like, okay, maybe my app is glitchy, something. And I began to ask around, and everyone was like, "Oh yeah, that's what happens." And I was just and we all still have it. And it was I mean, yeah, but if you go to one movie a month, it cancels out. You totally get it,
right?
And it's
if you go to 2 movies a month, just so we're clear, if you go to 1 movie a month,
yeah. Well, it was only the service was $10.
Right. So what I'm saying is if you go to 1 movie a month, you don't need MoviePass. You could just go to the movies.
Yeah. 2 movies, you break even. Right. And so, or you get way more than you paid for. So it would, and then towards the end, it would do this thing where it would only let you see. And okay, we're adding on to it now. So just because they're doing different things doesn't mean the lower levels don't exist anymore. Okay, so movies at around 7 o'clock, no more movies, and it's inexplicable. Cool. And then they started adding this thing where you could only see the movies that they wanted you to see on that day. So, for example, it would be do you want to see Rampage? No? Well, you're gonna.
You're gonna.
So what I would do is I would go to a theater. And so they never... When they did this, they actually it was so weird because there was a season where you had to take pictures of the past, because what people were doing is they would buy a movie ticket the day before, and then the day of they would use, because it just sends money to a card. It has no idea what you're doing. It just sends money to a card. Right. And you could use it as a debit card. And so you would just use it to buy popcorn and drinks, which is amazing. And I never even thought to do it, and it was too late for me.
Yeah.
So they would say, take a picture of your thing, of your card, so you have to make sure you're going to the right movie. And that happened. I'd do that for a while, which was annoying. But at the same time, I was like, I'm going to more than 2 movies a month. So like, and then following that, once they said that like you have to go to the movies that we want you to go see, it then said you don't have to take pictures of the tickets anymore. So after that, everyone just bought a ticket for the movie they wanted to see anyway, and just said they bought it for another movie.
Right. So they'd be like, "Yeah, I'm going to Rampage again," and then they would just go see whatever.
But somewhere down the line, it made sure that you couldn't go to the same movie twice.
Right.
So like it's compiling and adding all these things together, and it just like gets this really weird fever pitch where out of nowhere it's like, hey, we're offering a new payment plan, do you want to accept it? And then you'd be like, no, and then you'd click no, and then the pop-up would pop up again, and you click no, and it would keep popping up, and like every like 5 or 10 seconds it would pop up again. And at that point I was like, all right, bye.
All right, see ya, I'm out.
Yeah. And a lot of people left way before that, but I was just like, at a certain point, I just became so angry at MoviePass. I was like, I personally am going to run you into the ground. Like, it's going to be, I will be the last one. It's going to be me versus you, and I'm going to go see like that Rebel Wilson romantic comedy 17 times in a row, and there's nothing you can do to stop me.
That's good. I'm glad that you found some purpose in life.
Yeah, but I didn't. I let go of it. I was like, this is not the hill worth dying on.
Let go and let God destroy that company. So I'm unpacking my terrible broken brain the more I think about it. And also, hey, this is great. This is perfect fodder for me going into a deep, dark sadness.
Yeah.
Here's what I think. The more I think about it. Okay, so the thing about film school that you need to understand is that you don't watch the best movies. I would say sometimes you don't even watch movies that are good, which is what you would think, right? You go to film school, oh, you must be watching Godfather every day, which would be terrible, but still, you know what I mean? Like, oh, you're busting through. Basically, film school is you just watch the 10 movies that are going to be the best picture for the year, and then that's it. That's film school, huh? No. You watch movies that are important. And much like Thomas Edison's light bulb, just because it's important and pioneering does not make it any good. So I watched a lot of movies that were so boring and so just unfollowably confusing. Like movies that like went out of their way to just bore the pants off you, or just not make any. Oh man, I'm peeking. Or just not make any sense, right? Like, or these movies that would just not, that we watched this movie, Daisies. I don't know.
Was it? I feel like what was this the animated movie?
No, that was
no.
That was Paprika.
Yeah, there was one movie that it was like everyone I knew in film school would reference this movie as like the end all be all of confusion.
Okay, Paprika is fine. I don't remember because it was very confusing. I also worked, this is important, I worked 2 jobs during college and was also in a fraternity, so I was rather busy.
Well,
and
one of them was a kind of a job.
Which one was kind of a job?
The one where you worked at that, the place where they would rent software or like rent equipment, and every time we'd go there, you would just be like working on your own thing.
Right, but I had to be there. I physically had to be there.
That's true. Yeah, so, like I used to work at a museum, and that basically was that job.
Yeah, except no one knew that the museum existed, so that made it a little harder.
Yeah.
It was a real night at the museum situation.
Yeah, that. It was me against everyone. There was no one else in there.
So I would not get a lot of sleep because I was very busy. So I'd fall asleep in the movies pretty often. Like almost every viewing we ever did, I would just pass straight out because it was like, oh, well, this is like a really slow-paced Japanese film that's in black and white, and there's like 5 lines of dialogue for this 2.5-hour movie. So about 5 minutes in, I would just pass out and I would sleep. And it became a situation where like this is an important film, or like this is an art film, became associated in my brain with, this movie is going to cause you emotional pain. Like, you are going to sit in the seat and hate it, right? Like, because it was something where it's like, you have to sit here. It's not going to make any sense. It's going to be mad boring, or there's going to be like very little to no plot. And also, you are full of anxiety because you have so much work that needs to get done, and you do need to go to your job. I mean, often I would get out of screenings. So screenings would be at 6. No, class ended at 2. Screenings started at like 2:30. So screenings would be over at like 5:30 or whatever, or something along those lines. And then I would immediately leave there to drive to my job and then work from, 6:30 to like 9 o'clock, like just working. So important movies just in my brain are associated with like emotional pain and stress. And so when I see like, this is an important movie, it'll win an Academy Award, it's like, oh no, I cannot go to that, because it's not right. Because I think about it, it's like, no, this should be nice. This should be like a nice thing that you enjoy. You like movies. You studied film for a reason. But movies that are supposed to be important, I just think like, oh, it's going to be so boring. It's going to be so boring, and I'm not going to understand what's going on at all. And I think I've just like programmed this. One time in my documentary class, we watched this movie called Baby Window Water.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I have no idea what that is.
You don't know what that is. It's this quote documentary. I guess it's a documentary. I don't know. It doesn't matter. The other thing about film school is sometimes, not always, sometimes you will be in like deconstructionist classes, where basically what they will do is they'll start with an idea of like documentary, and then they'll spend the whole semester just saying like, what is a documentary? Is this a documentary? And you're like, yes, I can see it with my eyes. Of course, I know what a documentary is. And it's like, right, but there are recreations. So how is it different than fiction? And you're like, well, because, and then you just kind of, and they're like, oh yes, but this one has interviews, but this one has like, it's all live footage, but they also decided to be there, and they decided what footage to put in it. So is it really a documentary, or this is a mockumentary? That's obviously not a documentary, but in what way is it different? Because it's still, and by the end of it, you're just like, I don't know, maybe documentaries aren't real. I don't know. I don't know, man. Anyways, and it's awful, and it just like
and
burns you dead out.
And then the professor is just like, you passed.
Yeah, basically. And
that,
the baby one was just like this weird thing that was cut really crazy. It was only like 5 minutes, but it was like cut really crazy, where it would like start on a shot and then cut to a different shot, but then like cut back to the same shot before. And what I mean is like cut back in time. So you would see the same like movement over and over and over again. You can imagine this, right? So it's a window, and there's like a certain sound and a flower moving, or like a drop of water. And it would go back to the flower and whatever, and it would cut back and forth and sort of like stutter for like, it did this for like 5 minutes. But also the main subject of what was happening in the film is a woman giving birth. So you would just see a baby's head come out of this woman over and over and over again. And it was horrible. And when it was over, the teacher said, yeah, I just like showing that to people to freak them out. And it was like, hey dog, you're a bad teacher. And so like, I think I just have like a whole knot of like that I need to work through with films, where I'm just like, nah man, good movies are bad movies. I don't want to watch, like, I just want to watch a superhero movie, because I'm not going to have to watch a woman continually give birth over and over and over again for 5 minutes.
Well, this kind of leads into the thought that the secondary title I wanted to have for this podcast, which is Too Smart to Be Dumb, Too Dumb to Be Smart, where there is this like idea where I have seen these movies, and I know within the first like 4 minutes, I'm like, uh-oh, I'm dumb. Like there is I'm not going to enjoy this. And I especially had this happen, like I was in this movie theater all by myself, and I saw the movie, it was a Joaquin Phoenix movie called Wish You Were Here. And as I was watching it, it's like the synopsis is like this one guy goes out to take revenge on men that are sexually assaulting young girls. And it's like, yeah, that is what the first 4 minutes are about. And then strap in, because the rest of it is not about too much of anything. And it is like intentionally done in a way where like there's sequences where he's walking down a hallway filled with just like fluorescent lights. And it lasts for like an uninterrupted 2 minutes of him just like walking through hallways and turning corners. And you're just like, what? I do not know what I'm supposed to be feeling from this. And there's another scene where a guy is talking and like essentially giving you the plot of the movie. Mm-hmm. And then another character starts talking to himself about a jelly bean, and all you can hear is the dialogue about the jelly bean. And then you're just like, what is going on? And there's several other scenes. There's one where he kills a guy and then holds his hand, and they both like lay down there together for a while. Yeah. And nothing leading up to that or following that has any connection. Like every scene just feels like the director could walk out and go, this is pretty weird, right? And it follows that pattern for the whole movie. And at around like 5 minutes in, I was like, I'm a dumb guy, and this is about to be a really, really rough experience for me, because I don't get why this is important. I do not get why this is art. I do not understand. And I was in the theater by myself. So towards the middle of it, I started pulling up reviews and like reading reviews as the movie was going on. Cool. And it was because it was a no-sum game for me at this point. Like I can see what's happening on the screen. He's walking through a hallway. I think I can take a little break. And so
sure. And for me, that was a nap. I'm like, I'm gonna fall asleep for a little while.
So I'm looking at these reviews, and all the reviews you can watch to find the reviews for Wish You Were Here. It is just like, this movie is how movies should be made. Like, this is the future of cinema until the end of time. Mark my words. And I'm just like, I cannot tell you what that movie was about, why it happened, why any of those scenes were connected, what the characters learned from any of the experiences. And at the end, it's just like, well, see you later. And that's just the way the movie ends. And it's like, all right, cool, bye.
Yeah, Zach, see, I'm also a dumb guy. That is film school. And like, I swear to you, do you want to know the transformation I made over film school of like years of doing that every week, of like walking into a movie and everyone's like, and I'm like, I have no idea what's going on in this movie. I have no clue what's happening in this movie. So when I come into film school freshman year, I would get really frustrated and like flustered and passionately explain why the Transformers franchise was the worst thing that's ever happened to movies, because movies are art. I swear to you, by the end of film school, I was sitting in classes passionately explaining to people why Transformers was very, very rad and everyone should like it. Like, it had melted my brain. Like, film school melted my brain. And I was like, yeah, man. And then Optimus just like has the sword and all the knights are like cool now, and then they turn into a dragon, but it's really far away for some reason, and then like it's just rad. It's just like really good, and it's bad, but it's really good, and it's good, I think. And they're all just like, well, we melted Sam, we broke him, we broke his whole thing. It's like, you broke me, man. It was the cabinet of Dr. Moriarty or whatever.
Yeah. At one point, I was talking to one of my friends, and I was just talking about our favorite movies, and I was talking about, like, I was like, I like this movie because like it's so beautifully written, da 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 da. And then he is like, I think my favorite movie is Avengers: Infinity War. And I thought to like make fun of him for a second, but then I was like, yeah, man, that's a good movie.
That's a good movie, man.
That's all I thought. I was like, yeah, dude. Like, honestly, that's a good movie. Like, yeah, heck yeah. Like, you could definitely pick a worse movie.
You could definitely pick a worse movie, man. I don't know. I think I broke somewhere along the way. I think it was Daisies. I think Daisies, or maybe it was the baby movie with the documentary. I think that's what broke me, and I was like, I think I just like punching robots now and cartoons.
Well, I'm out. I'll tell you what. The one movie that was nominated for Best Picture as well as Best Original Screenplay, which is probably going to win Best Original Screenplay, was a movie called The Favorite.
Sure.
And I was watching it with this group of friends, And it was like me and one of my friends who we're around the same level of like, I like Back to the Future.
Sure.
And as this movie was happening, I looked at her and I said, hey, we're dumb.
Hey, we're dumb though.
Like buckle up, because the next 2 hours is going to really pile in how dumb we are. And like all of these lines are happening so fast, and like there's pauses for laughter. And I'm just like, oh no.
Oh,
And like there's this pauses for laughter, and this other person we were with was going, like that with every single like joke. And then we walked to the theater, and I was like so ready to be like, that was 100% insane forever. And then like before we could even start, my other friend was just like, that was amazing. That was like one of the best written movies I have ever seen. And like the way they did this and this and this. And then I just looked at my other friend. I was like, get ready, because we're about to go to dinner with this person, and it will be revealed that like we are not smart. And just pretend, be like, yeah, man, the way that one like set looked was crazy.
Often, so we would watch the movies, and then the next day, or kind of the rest of the, we'd watch movies at the beginning of the week. On Monday, it's class, and then Wednesday, Friday, we would discuss the movie we watched on Monday. And it became pretty usual on Wednesday. There was a period where people had to explain to me what, like, that was part of the class, was explaining to me specifically what happened in the movie and how many characters there were. Because there were often things where I was like, they'd be talking, I'm like, wait a minute, was that guy from that scene and that other dude the same person? And they're like, yeah, obviously. And I'm like, you kind of lost me. There was some time travel, and there was like one dude was older and then younger.
There was some type of time travel, but it was very clearly not a time travel movie, because it was not rad.
No, it was like in two sections where it was like in two. This is a real movie that I don't remember the name of. It was in two sections, and the first section is about this kid that gets bullied by this other kid. And the second section is about the bully, how he got bullied and became a bully. And then the third section is about the kid who gets bullied from the first section getting his revenge.
Oh, this is Boyhood. I have no idea what this is. Is this Tree of Life?
No. It's this Japanese movie. But they're different ages, I think. Honestly, I don't know. But also, there's a storyline where there's a chat room that is just shown in chat, and there's people's handles. And I am thinking there are 5 characters in this movie. There aren't. I'm totally throwing the chat out. Like, I'm never going to understand what's going on with this chat room, because I'm not going to remember who these different handles are. But it's just the 2 characters, and I guess the other bully. But, like, there's the kid, his bully, and that's it. And it's a story about them. And we get to the end, and I thought there was like 8 characters. I just didn't understand who was who and what was going on. I didn't really realize that they had like done a flashback, because there wasn't like do music, so I didn't know. Yeah. And they were like, oh, because they were talking in the chat room, and they were actually talking to each other. And the kid who was getting bullied, he knew, but the bully didn't know it was him. And it was like, dog, what? Like, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean? I don't. And like, literally, we'd sit in class, and I would be like, can you walk me through the plot of what happened in this movie? Because I do not understand.
Man.
So maybe that's why I don't watch movies anymore.
Maybe.
I hate feeling dumb.
And like, to some degree, I think that like a lot of my favorite movies are always just like retellings of like great stories, just like from history. And then I think I always have like a distaste for it's like art for the sake of art. It's like, dude, this is not good. Like, this is like, but like, man, again, I think there's like different genres of like movies. Like, some of the movies, like the narrative is less important. Like, when I saw You Were Never Really Here, I was talking to someone who really, really enjoyed it. And I was just like, what, how? And then what they said was like, the plot doesn't matter. What matters is how you feel. And I was just like uncomfortable, and they went, exactly. And I was just like, cool, man. Good talk.
Well, here's the thing. Like, I do agree with that. I do like art, and I think that a lot of art is the expectations you bring to it. But it's difficult with narrative film because it's difficult with film because there's often like the artifice of narrative, like, oh, it seems like the one Joaquin Phoenix movie you described. I've never seen it, but it like feels like it's going somewhere, and you don't know, oh, this isn't going anywhere. Like, none of this is related to each other at all. Like, you don't know that walking in. If you see an abstract painting, you know, like, oh, it's an abstract painting. Like, yes, this is an abstract version of something, but you don't feel the expectation of, like, there is something to understand. Or maybe you do. I don't know. I don't. Like, my whole thing about, like, art galleries is, like, you should show up without any expectations of what it is, because often when people are like, modern art is dumb, it's because they have some expectation that it's, like, number one, they have an expectation of what good is, which is just Rembrandt. They're just like, oh, does it look super realistic? Then that's what good is. So number one, like, they have their expectation of what good is, and they have an expectation that it should be good, right? So they show up and it's not, it's like their standard is like, well, I want it to be photorealism, and its value is based on how close it gets to that. And it's like, well, yeah, you're showing up with a lot of expectations that are going to mean most of the time you're going to have a bad time. Not that there isn't, like, very realistic modern art, but, or contemporary art, I guess would be a better way to put it. But, like, still, it's like you're showing up with a bunch of expectations that, like, it needs to be this certain way, and I've decided exactly what that certain way should be. Whereas if you just show up and be like, I'm going to let the art be the art, and whatever that is, you know, that's what it is. And so if it's most of the time I'm a dumb guy and I walk through an art gallery and my best commentary is going, that looks really cool. And then we walk past it. But I go to art galleries a lot, and, like, I really enjoy it because I see stuff and think, man, that's really cool. And, like, that's a fun experience to me. What's hard with, well, and I'll give an example. Like, one time we were going through an abstract gallery and we wanted to do the audio tour because I like having context to the art. I like knowing, like, what was the process, where did it come from. And this audio tour was straight out of SNL. Because here was the first warning sign. We get to this painting. I thought it was going to give context to the paintings. What it was other people expressing their, like, art or craft in relation to that painting. The first one we walk up to, and it is a woman who is a chef who is going to cook a meal based on this painting. And I was like, I think we are in a bad spot. I don't think this is going to go super good for me.
Was this with your wife?
It was.
Oh, tight. You're just like, it's
we did not like it.
Get your coat.
Well, the art was nice, but then we'd go to the audio tour and it's like, I'm going to cook this dish based on this painting. I'm like, what are you talking about, man? And then, and I'll tell the last one next because the middle one flows into the story. But the last one was straight out of SNL, where it was very pretentious, and the whole thing is very pretentious. And we get to the last one, and it's these, like, you know, circles or whatever. And the guy's like, the way to best express this is by reading the last page of the book Ulysses. And I'm like, this dude is not going to read the last page of Ulysses to me as, like, not context, but, like, supplemental material. And that's what they were doing.
Yeah.
So the middle one, you go to this painting, cool painting, and the guy, in all earnestness, gets on the screen, and he's like, hey, I'm at the Parthenon in Nashville, and I looked at this painting, and it has inspired me to do an improvisational interpretive dance. And then he does an improvisational interpretive dance in front of the Parthenon to this painting, I guess. But again, it's improvisational and interpretive. So, like, so you could have looked at anything. You know what I mean? Like, what about this painting? I don't know. Because, again, it was one of those where it was, like, mostly white canvas, and then there were, like, cool splotches. And, like, I don't need it to look like Rembrandt. Like, that looks cool. I'm not going to hang it in my house, but, like, cool. It looks cool. I'm going to think about it for, like, 3 seconds and go, that looks cool. This made my day a little nicer. Which is what I go to art galleries for. Like, they show up and I'm like, this looks cool. That was a great way to spend 2 hours. And then I go home, and, like, honestly, I think that's fine. I don't think you need to, like, weep on the ground if you go to, I don't know. It bugs me when people talk about art galleries, because basically they show up with the expectation that, like, oh, this should make me weep, and I'll think about it for the rest of my life, and I'll, like, you know, hang it above my grave.
Yeah, and it's like, nah, dude, you know, like, art decorates space, music decorates time. Like,
just, like, enjoy it.
Yeah.
Okay, we can go back to that. I don't know what that.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I know what that means, but anyway. So I show up with these expectations of like, I need this to give me context about these paintings. That's why I got this audio tour.
Mm-hmm.
Showed up with these expectations. Was not happy. The next night, we go to an art crawl around town, and we've got no expectations. We were just walking through this neighborhood, Wedgwood, Houston, going to all the different art galleries, and there's different stuff. And there was one about the hip hop scene in this Baltic nation. And there's just a bunch of photographs, and it was really cool. And then we walk up to this gallery, and there's these two women doing an improvisational interpretive dance. And we stood there in a crowd of people watching these two women do very clearly not practiced, making it up as they go along. There's no.
Oh yes.
And we watched them do it for like 20 minutes, and then it was over. And I looked at my wife, and I was just like, "That was cool." She was like, "Yeah, that was cool." And then we walked into the gallery, and it was great. And I wasn't mad. And there were points where I thought, "Oh, that's really nice. Oh, that's really cool. Oh, this makes me think of this." Da 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 da. But I didn't show up with any expectations of like, this needs to be something, right? Like it was just like, no, I'm just gonna watch this for what it is, and that's it, and that's the end of it. Cool. And then I watched it, and it was great. I guess it was fine. My whole point being, so anyway, that's my whole thing about expectations. Is just like, just don't show up with any. Because if I had gone and been like, this needs to look like a ballet, I would have been like, this is a terrible ballet. But it wasn't a ballet. It was an improvisational interpretive dance. You know what I mean? It was like, it was what it was, and it was a cool way to spend 20 minutes, and then I went and did something else, and it was fine. My whole thing is, with film, I have a really hard time divorcing it from narrative, and sometimes films don't divorce themselves from narrative, where like they don't let you know in any way the way that an abstract painting does, or an improvisational interpretive dance, like, hey, there's nothing, this is what you get out of it, right? Like, they don't do that. It's just like, this is a movie with a plot, and you're like, oh, okay. And then it goes on for 2 hours, and you're like, what was the plot? Ha, gotcha, no plot. It's like, okay, dude, I don't, it's tough. I feel dumb at movies.
Yeah, I mean, but I did really enjoy the way that you talked about how like it is to like not going into it like understanding anything and then letting the art kind of wash over you. And like I'm like having like second thoughts, right? I clearly need to like see this movie again, or just like maybe have an understanding of like what the process is and like what like feelings it was supposed to get out of me, and like that. That's made me feel like a dumb guy.
That's almost not what I'm saying. I'm saying no.
What are you talking about?
The idea that you should figure out what feelings you're supposed to feel and then watch it again and then feel those feelings.
Okay, I guess
not
you're
what
right.
I'm saying at all. I'm saying film is not as easy to do this with because it goes like it has a set amount of time that you're supposed to watch it, and there's stuff that happens in order. Like, yes, museums are curated, so like there is like kind of a set path, but you just look at a painting as long as you want to look at it, and then you move on. Like, there's not like we spent hundreds and hundreds of man hours and millions of dollars to put this in order in a certain way, and like there are teams of people who made all of this look exactly the way it is, but you are not but there's no like discernible meaning, and it's like that's hard for me to get. Like it just, the medium itself makes me feel as if there ought to be something. Like, you did this on purpose. Why did you do it? You know what I mean? That's the great thing about movies, is like it's all done on purpose, and that's what great movies I think do, and movies that I like do, where they like, we thought about every part of this, and we're trying to tell a story, and we're trying to convey a message. Like they are I can't remember the word, whatever. They're trying to teach a lesson. Almost by definition. Like, there is an idea, there is a voice, there is a vision. They're trying to communicate that to you, and they do it through the cinematography, through the mise en scène, through the editing, through the dialogue, all of it. That is communicating some idea or series of ideas, and that's it. Or just telling a story that you're supposed to empathize with. That's like my whole frame of reference for movies. So movies that are like, no, we have no plot, and we're not about anything in particular, it's just like, I got a tough time sitting through that for 2 hours because then I don't have any reference point for anything because my main way of getting meaning out of movies is looking at it and saying they did this on purpose. Why did they do it? And if it's like, no, we didn't do any of it on purpose, or we purposefully did it, but with no thought behind it as to like what you're supposed to, no intent. We purposefully did all of it, but we had no intent behind any of it. It's like, okay, then I don't know what I'm supposed to get out of this. See, now I'm trying to now I'm trying to think of that in terms of like abstract art, because I know how I feel about abstract art, where it's like, yeah, whatever. But I can't just like look at it for 5 seconds, go, that was cool, and walk out. You know what I mean? I got to be there for 2 hours.
Yeah. Well, I think I really much enjoy the way this is going. And I can talk about this forever, but if you wanted to cut it off, seeing as we are way past time.
Yeah, we're like 10 minutes. Yeah.
Okay. I mean.
Yeah. No. Because it's like a whole thing, and I should probably think about my thoughts about it.
I'm really curious to see, because like I think you kind of this is like one of those like film school, I just want to talk about Transformers, and now you're kind of showing your hand of like knowing the art of it.
I like art. That's my thing. I like art and think art is good. Like I got into film school and still, work in film because I like movies and think they are good. And when I looked at all the mediums of art, I was like, that's the one I want to work in. Of all of the, because this is my last thing. Here's the thing about movies. The reason movies are good to me, the reason I like movies, I'm a very obsessive person. That's so clear to anyone who listens to me talk for like a minute. And I like stuff that is full of lots of moving parts, right? Like it's why I fix cars. It's why I make puzzles. It's why I do everything I do.
Make
right?
watches.
I don't make watches, but but I do like watches. I like how they're all put together and stuff. It's just the parts are too small. It doesn't matter. Anyway, so when you look at the arts, it's like, well, you've got, painting and like traditional art, and then you've got dance, and you've got music, and you've got writing. And if you took all of those things, right? You took, all of that and put it together, what you would get is movies. Like movies is the culmination of all of, I don't know if it's a culmination, but it has all those parts. It has the physicality and the humanness of dance or theater. It has writing like books. It has music, which is a huge part of like how a movie makes you feel is the music. It has visuals like art. Like it's not just photography. It's like, it's color palettes, it's everything, it's like, it's all the things together. And so I really like that. And I like how a director or a team can do that to convey a message, to say like, we are going to take every element of art and use them all together, sometimes using them like how they work together, or how these two things don't work together at all. And you get sort of a dissonant message, and like, we're going to do all that. And then this is my bias. We're going to do all that to communicate something. And I really like that. I like that journey of like watching a movie and being like, what are they trying to communicate? Why did they do all these things? What are they trying to get at? What is the like greater truth or really simple truth that they're trying to convey about human nature? I really like that. Then I go to movies and I feel like a dumb guy because it's a dude walking down a hall for 2. All right. See you, bye forever.
See you, bye forever.